Did you ever wonder if you had toxic or poisonous plants in your garden? Well, that's today's subject. We're going to talk about those things. Hello, my name is Rich and welcome to my world and garden. Today we're going to talk about poisonous plants, trees, shrubs, and weeds, and toxic things. So if you're a parent or a grandparent, you definitely want to watch this one. The one plant I want to weed first is probably the most poisonous, which is hemlock, poison hemlock. It has a fern-like flat on the ground. It has a deep taproot. It sends up 10 inches with a white flower. You see it everywhere. It grows everywhere in the United States with the exception of Hawaii, Florida, Mississippi, and Alaska. And it is very poisonous. Now, just because it's not in your yard doesn't mean it's not other places. It's along all the roadsides in the country. You can find it in the parks in New York City, Boston. This plant doesn't care. All it needs is a crack to come up. So if your child has ingested this one, or someone you know, call an ambulance immediately. It is very dangerous. Trying to dig it out is not easy once it gets hold. So you might want to spray that one. And the next one is pokeweed. Now, pokeweed has a big leaf. From the time it gets started, and it's another one that has these beautiful berries once it's full grown. They're magenta. Birds eat them and they seed them, and you're going to have to dig those out. They grow very fast. They get a very big taproot, almost like 3 carrots put together, and they get deep. They're not easy to dig out either. The berries are very toxic and could be poisonous to your dog. Children shouldn't be eating those either, so you want to eradicate that one. So my suggestion to every parent is to get onto YouTube and pull up toxic and poisonous weeds and get familiar with them so you know what they look like. A child under the age of 4 really needs someone to be with them when they're in a garden or in the woods. However, you should be training your children to identify these things. My grandchild that's 7 and 9, they ask me about everything and they know what's poisonous and what isn't. Now, in your garden, your beautiful wisteria vine, those seed pods are very poisonous. That whole vine is poisonous. Next thing we're going to talk about is the yew bush. If you've been to England or you've seen the beautiful English garden, you've seen these wonderful yew bushes. They're slow growers, and that's one of the reasons people like them. You trim them once a year. They make great walls. You can trim them in diamond shapes, rectangles. You can do so much with them. They put walls around the garden to bring their climate to a warmer climate. The problem is they're extremely poisonous. Every bit of these bushes or trees, whatever you want to call them, shrubs, are poisonous. The needles, the berries, the wood. You don't even burn the wood when you rip them out. Now, my grandkids know they're poisonous. You can take yours out, but somebody down the road has one. So my big deal is education, you know? English ivy and also Engelmann ivy, otherwise known as Virginia creeper, has a toxicity level. I think the English ivy is probably worse. The berries, the blueberries, the birds love the blueberries on the Engelmann ivy and they can handle it, but children cannot. And ivy can be poisonous, so you want to be careful, and you know, it's also invasive. the beautiful hydrangea bush. You'd have to eat quite a bit of it, but it can be poisonous, and especially to children. It's very toxic. Enough ingested, it has a little coniine in it. So as beautiful it is, it can be a problem. The next bush I want to talk to you about is the Ohio Buckeye, which is a beautiful bush, highly poisonous. This is a Ohio Buckeye, and named after the state. It's very popular in Ohio. It has a 5-leaf pattern. Looks like a chefalero plant, the tropical plants. It comes back year after year. It would get larger than this if I'd let it. In the spring, it sends out these beautiful reddish yellow spiked flowers straight up before the leaves come on the tree. It is really something to see. Those flowers put out all these little fruits that'll eventually fall on the ground, start other plants. They're highly poisonous. I cut them immediately as they look like they're about ready to start falling, or right before they are. That's when I trim the tree back and get rid of them. Hostas. The flowers are edible. A lot of people cut them. This is a beautiful lavender. You can put them around your cakes and salads. They have no taste at all. I'd stay away from that. The leaves are poisonous to dogs and cats, or toxic, as they say. My dog's not interested in it, but there you have it. This is a winterberry bush. You're seeing them more and more. They are green. They stay green for a pretty long time. In the winter, they get these wonderful red berries. And it's just beautiful to see with the green leaves and the red berries. Somewhere around February, the birds flock in, and in one afternoon, they totally devour all the berries. Last year, it was robins. I never saw so many robins in the dead of winter. And those berries are not poisonous to the birds, but they are highly poisonous to humans. So that's another one to be aware of. We started with weeds. I want to go back to weeds. A lot of times you don't see them because they're under your bushes and they get a start. It's the second year when you see them coming up through the bushes. And that is deadly nightshade is a plant that does that. It has poisonous berries. It's called belladonna. That's a poisonous one. There are those beautiful yellow-orange lanterns. Those seeds are poisonous inside those lanterns. So there's quite a few weeds that can take hold. They have massive root systems. They're hard to get rid of. You really need to get in there. So if you have a lot of hedges and bushes and you're busy, you're not able to look under every bush every year. It's not until they're starting to poke out that you realize you have them, and that's usually in the second year. The last thought I want to leave you with is people are using a lot of flowers and things in their salads, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nasturtiums have a peppery taste. They're wonderful in salads, and there's rose petals. There's all kinds of wonderful things you can, bake and cook with or decorate or put as a garnish. You don't want to do that if you're using systemic fertilizers, because that is a poison that you're feeding into the plant that goes up to kill the insect. So make sure if you're using systemic fertilizers, do not eat your flowers. Organic is the way to go, organic fertilizers if you're going to do that. Or hydroponic, that's another way to go, which takes a little bit of re-education. So thank you for joining me today in my garden. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you tell your friends and families, and don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button. See you next week.